Hi everybody, my name is Anuya and the giggly one is Sharin. The other giggly one with funny hair is Smriti. And the nice calm one is Mridula. Say hi everybody.
Hi.
Today we are here to discuss the best of Indian literary fiction thanks to the amazing JCB Prize for Literature, which is also India's richest prize. So, if nothing else is working out for you and you feel like writing a book, then please write a book that could win this prize, okay?
Yes, please.
Which means Chetan Bhagat can't participate. Low joke. Low blow. Sasta joke. Okay, so why don't Smriti and Mridula, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? And then what I'll do is we'll talk about the JCB 10 and how we collaborated with Instagrammers this year. So Smriti, first you please let people know who you are.
Hi, I'm Smriti. I am also known as Sunthreads on Instagram, YouTube, and also on the Books on Toast channel. So if you've seen my face before, it is me. Hi. I talk a lot about books in general, and I like to review them and talk about them. So if you want to talk about them, then talk about them with me as well.
Hi, this is Mridula, and I'm ecstatic yet chaotic on Instagram as well as on my blog. I love talking about books. I love reading books, and I love discussing books. That's all.
That's awesome. Welcome, Sharon. Do you think you could take everybody through the JCB 10?
So this year we decided to do something more interesting. Instead of just reading the books between the two of us and just talking about it, we decided to get 10 amazing bookstagrammers who are essentially championing the best of Indian literature on the internet and on Instagram to talk about the JCB Prize for Literature long list this year. And we've got Mridula Gupta, and her handle is ecstatic yet chaotic. We've also got Ayushi, who goes by _pen and papers. There's Apurva and Mansi, who have French flaps and deckled edges. We've also got Chitra, who's got Talk Books and More. Deepa Anthony, who is Detox on Instagram, and she's already done a video with us. There's also Mir Kubai, who is Kubai Bibliophile. And then there is Padmaja, who's got the Bookish Tales. And of course, there's Ria, who is Rufus Reads, and of course, Sumaya, who is Sumaya.books. So all these amazing 10 people, what they did is they championed 10 books.
And Smriti.
And Smriti.
Oh, Smriti is also here.
It was me.
And the 10th person is Smriti Sant, who is Sant Reads everywhere, as you know. So, yeah, thanks, guys. So this is the long list of books in 2020. The Machine is Learning by Tanuj Solanki, Prelude to a Riot by Zaidi, Djinn Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anappara, In Search of Heer by Manjul Bajaj, Undertow by Jahnavi Barua, Chosen Spirits by Samit Basu, These Are Bodies Possessed by Light by Dharini Bhaskar, Moustache by S Hareesh, A Burning by Megha Majumdar, and A Ballad of Remittent Fever by Ashok Mukhopadhyay.
I just want to clarify that A Burning and A Ballad of Remittent Fever are not about sexually transmitted diseases.
Good, you clarified. Good job.
Welcome. Yeah. Let's go. Let's discuss the books. Yay, our favorite part. So, guys, between the four of us, we've read all of these 10 books, and some of these we've all read, and some of these only one of us has read. So, good job, everybody. You haven't let any book be left behind. Woohoo! Good for us. And the books that made it to the shortlist this year are Chosen Spirits by Samit Basu. Yay! Prelude to a Riot by Zaidi. Djinn Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa.
Yay.
These Are Bodies Possessed by Light by Dharini Bhaskar, and Moustache by S Hareesh. So I think we should just go for it, guys. Okay, let's just go for it. Let's start discussing.
Let's go for it indeed. So I think the first book I want to talk about, because I'm very excited about it, is Djinn Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anappara. this was the first book I read in the beginning of the year, and it really touched a nerve. It is such an emotional book, but it's also such a real book, and it's actually crime fiction. A crime fiction story in it, which is so wonderful. It's a pacey read. It has all the makings of being a great commercial novel itself, and it's such a solid story, such brilliant writing, and a wonderful message that it's teaching us. So Deepa Anappara is a former journalist, and she has widely covered reports about children going missing in metro cities in India, specifically in Bombay and Delhi. So this is a book that she bases in a slum, and it's a story of three kids who sort of start this small detective group, and they're looking for a missing classmate of theirs. I think many people who have read it have enjoyed it a lot. So it's definitely my pick for winner this year. Thank you so much.
Wow, mine too. It's my pick for
Pick
winner.
three.
Yeah, I loved it too. I would love to hear Mridula your thoughts on the book.
One more thing that I really want to add is how well built the characters are in the book. The three kids who go in search of their missing friend, their dedication, the way they uh, take things from the world around them, the TV, the crime shows that they constantly watch, and even the atmosphere that has been created by the smog, the slum people, and then the clear distinction between the poor and the rich, living in the same area surrounded by a wasteland. That's quite well done. Jay's perspective is brilliant. It just makes you feel for the characters so much more. So I think here's a book that I will vouch for more because of the characters. It's a very complete book. It has a plot. It has characters. It has everything that is required for the story to be a bestseller. So I guess yes, it's again one of the most deserving books if it wins the JCB prize.
Okay, so everybody unanimously loves Gin Patrol, and we're happy it's in the shortlist.
Very.
Yes,
Very
Popular
happy.
Choice Award goes to Jane Patrol.
Yeah, popular choice. Yes, yes, yes. That's awesome. Let's move on to our book number two. Okay. Book number two is called A Burning by Megha Majumdar. Now, Megha Majumdar is a debut novelist, so I feel every time a debut novelist makes it to the long list, it's something that we should celebrate. Like very well done, Megha. And as you guys know, Megha Majumdar's book was also our first book for the Books on Those Readers Club. So this book is special to us. Um, a Burning is about three characters and their journeys through a time in their life that really changes them. So the first one is a girl named Jeevan, and she puts up a post on Facebook that gets her into trouble, that gets her put to jail. Now, Jeevan is a Muslim girl. This is an important piece of information for everybody to have, because what happens to her later is very much a reflection of her faith. The second character is called Lovely. She's a trans woman who wants to be an actress. That's all she wants from life. And she's taking acting classes. She knows Jeevan, and you sort of see how the events that happen to Jeevan change Lovely's life as well. And the third one, of course, is PT Sir, whose name we never learned, which I thought was very interesting. PT Sir is sort of like an insider's look into how a regular person, a middle class person, gets radicalized, and what happens to him after he receives attention from a party that focuses on, say, divisive politics. I have never minced my like I've never been so politically correct in my life, but this time I will do it because I want to live. So anyway, A Burning did not make it to the shortlist, and I'm sure all of us have thoughts on that. I really liked A Burning. Um, it was a very pacey read for me. It was super easy to finish. She wrote each chapter in one character's voice, and all three characters had distinct voices. However, I felt somewhere that it was a very predictable story, sort of like it was like a train on its tracks, and you knew when it's going to end. And also, I felt it was supremely devoid of hope. Now, Jin also deals with a lot of similar topics, but I think where Jin wins is that its voice is that of a child's, which gives everything this very stark yet innocence sort of point of view. Whereas in A Burning, it's सब बुरा ही होने वाला है, मतलब वो burning, 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 burning. Ash.
Everything is burning. Hopes,
Yeah,
dreams, aspirations, sab
yeah.
jal raha. A burning is, I think the premise is really good. It's something that has been taken right from mainstream media in India. If I had to take a look at the book from a reader's perspective, I think what's missing in the book is the emotions. It's a very straightforward narration, according to me. The angles were well done. We Everybody got a perspective. Everybody got a chance to share their story. But again, it did not do anything emotionally to me as a reader. I just read it. I just closed the book and moved on to a different book. So I would say it was a book that did not stay with me.
Book number 3 is Chosen Spirits by Samit Basu. Smriti,
Yes.
please take it away.
Yeah, so I championed Chosen Spirits by Samit Basu, and I really enjoyed the book. The book is essentially about a time set in Delhi about 10 to 15 years ahead, in 2030s, wherein everything in terms of the communal aspects in India plus technology has advanced. So we follow Joey, who's one character, and Rudra, who's the other character, and Joy is essentially a reality controller. And by that I mean that she's essentially she's a social media influencer
Manage.
producer
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
And she basically manages him and all his flows, which are like his live streams, because that's what social media is about.
Who's his? What do you mean by his?
His is the social media influencer whose name is Indy.
Mm.
um so basically that's what she does, and it's through her perspective and Rudra's perspective of the world that they're living in. And they are trying to be very passive and not really get into the world and try to make a change or anything like that. They're just normal human beings trying to go about their lives, but obviously it kind of infiltrates into their lives, and then they there's a bunch of stuff that happens. So generally I really like the book because there were just like the first parts of it was a lot of the world building, and a lot of like Samant Basu clearly has done a lot of research and put a lot of thought into what the world will look like. And it's some really fucked up shit, but according to Samant Basu it's like the best case scenario. So I'm just like I feel bad for you, Samit. I like you need some positivity in your life. I don't know, but it's still so it's I kind of agree with him as well. I really like the technology aspects of it as well, and what he kind of envisioned technology and social media would kind of be like. And yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff that happens in the book, including sex scandals and like corporate takeovers and like a lot of hijinks and trying to discover the underbelly of this culture that we kind of and the world that we live in. So yeah, so definitely a lot of stuff that happens in the book. Very fast paced towards the second half for sure. But yeah, if you are not a sci-fi reader, or if you think that, as we spoke about a burning, if you feel like things are too real for you, then this book does make things way too real for you, especially with NRC and all of that sort of stuff as well. But still a great read, super fun to read. And yeah, I really liked it. So
It's dark fun. To be
it's
very clear.
it is
It's not
true.
fun fun.
It's
It's
not
dark.
fun. But
Yeah.
like of course also like he has this weird like humor that comes in between, which makes it like fun to hear the banter and stuff like that. So I enjoy that bit as well. But of course I do realize that it's not quite for everyone, because he does go a little too heavy into the fucked upness of the world. So
Even the technology aspect, I think he goes a little too much for an ordinary sci-fi reader.
yeah, probably. Like a person who doesn't read sci-fi, it'll probably be a bit too much. And I'm a person who doesn't really read too much sci-fi, but because it concentrated a lot about social media, and that's like the field that I'm in, I really enjoyed it because I really liked to see what his thoughts on it were. So yeah,
So
Anuya, you have
I,
also yeah.
yeah, I just want to point out how glad I am that a book that would typically be classified under genre fiction has made it into a literary fiction prize, because I do believe that a lot of books get slotted under like, oh, this is SFF, ergo it'll never win. It's not real literature, which I think is bullshit, because there are so many genre books that are much better than so-called literary fiction. So I'm so happy that the JCB Prize has decided to like discard all these labels and just pick books that were good in that year. And so I'm of course a huge fan of Samit Basu. It's been widely documented all around everywhere that it can be documented. I still think his best work is Simoqin Prophecies.
Simoqin Prophecies.
Yeah, which is his debut trilogy, which made me laugh and cry, and like it'll always stay with me. But you can see how he has matured as a writer with Chosen Spirits, and you can also see the cynicism that has sort of grown into, seeped its way into his work. For me, Chosen Spirits was a little hard to get into, but once I got into it, an incredibly rewarding read. Um, yeah, everything else Smriti has covered. It's a weird, fucked up world that we're all headed towards, but we all sort of know it and we have to live anyway, so we may as well make the most of it.
Literary folk, please note, Anuya used the word ergo to explain something. Okay. In a book about speculative fiction,
My
in my book
favorite
about literary fiction. What is this world? It's clearly
chosen, my favorite chosen spirits are gin and whiskey.
Cheers! Oh, it's empty. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Next book, I think Mridula, you should talk about. It is realist fiction. Again, like realist fiction, everything, even speculative fiction is very
Why is
real.
literary fiction so
What is this?
depressing?
Realist fiction called Prelude to a Riot by Zaidi. Mridula, take it away.
Yeah, so Prelude to the Riot, as the name suggests, is what happens before a riot or the events that actually lead to a riot in a given community, be it anywhere in the world. The standardized process is always the same. So we visit a small village in the south of India, and we see two families, a Hindu family and a Muslim family, generations of which has been living in the same area. They have memories connected to the land. They know and they believe that that land is their home and that nobody can uproot them from there. But then we have the self-respect forum, which is trying to sow the seeds of discord among them and trying to make them turn against each other, and then lead to a riot. Whether that happens or not, we have no idea because this is just the prelude. So I think the
Hey,
book.
spoiler.
It's
I
not a
said which
spoiler.
happens or not. It's not a spoiler. I said it
It's not a
happens or
spoiler,
not.
don't worry.
So I think this book won for me because of the fact that it's very realistic and it's applicable to every scenario, be it in India or in any part of the world. I think this is where things start. This is where things escalate, and it reminded me a lot of Orwell's writing, because he follows a similar pattern, building a similar kind of a world that is going to be relevant for generations. So yeah, that's Prelude for the Riot, and I think it's set to be a classic. That's what I feel.
Wow, big
You know,
word.
that's interesting what you say, because Annie Zaidi has been a journalist, and she has covered a lot of human interest stories back in her day, and she's also all her work has been around realist fiction. She's also won many literary prize in India already for her previous work, so she's a very strong contender. It's like if she will write a book, it will be definitely long listed, shortlisted. कुछ तो होगा उसकी किताब में. It's definitely it's taken for granted. And she's written a lot of plays also. She's quite a celebrated playwright as well. And I'd seen a play of hers called So Many Socks, which was also similar. It was about Tibetan refugees living, 3 generations of a Tibetan refugee family living in India. So she does pick on these themes
Happy
and
things. It's like happy things.
oh, very happy things. A joyful, joyful times. It's a travelogue.
Her name should be Annie Sadie.
Oh God.
She's also a poet, Anuya.
Oh no. So close.
And she's also my favorite journalistic essay by her is about Honey Singh. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Sounds
She's
interesting.
a very interesting human being, and yeah. So Prelude to a Riot is like a slow burning, literally. Like, there are all these things that are bubbling under the surface, and you know what circumstances. Like if somebody wants to create a riot, This book is like a handbook. It shouldn't be, but it is. Okay, इसको ये बोलो थोड़ा सा, ये इसका ये background problem है, ये इसका background problem है, इसको यहाँ पे combine करो, oh right हो गया. ये है किताब भाई.
और कैसे क्लूज डालने, कहाँ पे क्लूज डालने, कहाँ पे सटल होना है, कहाँ पे बहुत बड़ा सा बम फोड़ना है.
हाँ, ये सब
Everything.
strategy है.
सब है.
Whatever I hear, we are all very happy it made it to the shortlist, and it seems like it's also very strong contender to be winner.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the next book on our list, and it's called Undertow by Jahnavi Barua. Undertow is the story of a girl named Loya, who is the daughter of a woman named Rukmini. Now, Rukmini grew up in Guwahati, went to medical school there. She met a Keralite boy, fell in love with him. But her family decided कि ऐसा सब चलता नहीं है यहाँ पे. Please don't marry outside community. And Rukmini was like, fuck you. And she married outside community and then went to live in Bangalore with the family of her beloved. You find out pretty early on in the book that things sort of went south for Rukmini. See what I did there? And you're introduced to her daughter Loya, who is 25 and who decides it's high time that she go and visit her mother's maternal, her
Maika
side of the family. Yeah, her mother's side of the family in Guwahati. So she goes to visit her grandfather, and you sort of, and the rest of the story is her trying to rebuild that relationship, find out that part of her identity which has been missing since she was a child. Now that's the story of Undertow in a nutshell. I just want to say that this book really surprised me because I thought it was incredibly well written. It's beautiful. It brings the moment to life very nicely. It creates an atmosphere really nicely. You feel Brahmaputra River as a character in the book, which was incredible. Like it really made me want to go and visit Guwahati, and I thought it had enough of a story to keep me going. And of course, there's that really um, explosive end. I will not say more, but the end is interesting. That's all I'm going to say. I would love to hear Smriti's feelings on Undertow. Smriti, go for it.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the book. I thought there were parts where I was getting a little bored though in the middle because I thought that the book was going to go in a certain way and it didn't. And I was kind of waiting for it to go in that particular way. So maybe that was my fault. But the end, obviously, as Anuya said, was it comes and really hits you in the face because you're really not expecting it. So I thought that was really well done. So the last 50 pages were absolutely sublime and amazing. However, what I really liked about Jahnavi Barua's writing was that the way she described everything. So I could imagine, as you said, like the Brahmaputra, I could imagine the garden, the people, the relationships between them, the food. She spoke about food so much. I was so hungry while reading the book.
I want to eat that food.
Yeah, so good, so good. And like even like the roads and like everything that she described, you could kind of just like visualize it in your head. And it wasn't like very out there, like fully like spending pages and pages talking about and describing things, but it just felt very naturally done, but still very well done. So I thought that was
I think
good.
She made history, culture, geography, everything about Assam very accessible.
Very.
Chote paragraphs where she divided it into small stories and just made it very accessible.
Exactly. Yeah. She also described like the student movement that happened, and the Maoist movement, and just all of that sort of stuff was also explained as well.
For dummies. And it was to understand politics to understand what she was saying to you.
Correct. And it wasn't like an info dump as well, which was great. So I thought that was very well written. But yeah, I just generally really liked the book as well.
And she did not give her opinions also. It was a very generalized narration, I feel, even when it came to history and politics. It was not like she was asking us to side with someone she essentially believes in.
Yeah.
It was just an overall view, I feel.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a little disappointed that it didn't make it to the shortlist.
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I feel like such books should be rewarded, but I also sort of understand So I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter whether it made it to the shortlist or the or
I
it
think
does.
a lot of people read it and loved it. The amount of love
Yeah,
it has been
yeah.
Yeah.
receiving in
There
social media, it's a lot.
there is no way I would have known about this book had it not been for the JCB
Yes.
Prize. So thank you, JCB Prize. And I feel like whatever Janvi Barua writes next is going to be top of my list. So I can't wait to see what happens next with her. And also, I would love to read some of her old stuff now. So definitely one of my favorites from the books this year,
Yeah.
Undertow. We have our next book now, which Smriti should introduce because she
Oh
got
God.
furthest
Oh
in
God. I
English.
have tried reading it more this time. I have not been able to. So this book is Moustache, and it is a book written by S Hareesh, which is a book written in Malayalam and translated to English by what?
Jayasree, Jayasree
Jayasree.
Kalathil.
Kalathil.
And this book is really weird. If I have to give one adjective to it, it is just weird as shit. But essentially, the plot is about this man called Babachan, who is a lower caste gentleman in a village in Kerala. And there is someone else who comes in and wants to put up a play. He is falling short of people, however, and there is one role that needs to be filled, which is of a policeman. So he decides to get Babachan, who normally wouldn't have been cast in the play, but he is cast, and he basically has to cut his mustache in a particular way, and then he becomes just very fear
Scary.
yeah, scary. He's become
Scary.
a
Yeah.
very scary dude, and like people see him and his mustache and they pee their pants and stuff like that sort of stuff. So it's just that's basically what happens. But then after that, it's about Bavachan and his life and how he traverses through Kerala, trying to get to a particular place, and all of the fun exciting things that happen. But essentially, he it's magical realism and fantastical elements into this book which are just really strange and really weird, but which I did not appreciate as much and I couldn't understand. But what I did like was that it really made you stretch your own imagination, because there is his sister is a mushroom. Okay. So, like, what do I say about this? Like, how can you imagine your sister being a mushroom? Okay. So that's just like that sort of stuff. Like, and then his mustache suddenly becomes a boat, and then his mustache is also as big as trees, and then his mustache is also covering him and protecting him from the rain. And they just basically put these various fantastical elements to the mustache and just all of that sort of stuff. Um, so there's no real way to explain what this book is about, to be honest.
About a mustache, Smriti. It's in
Yeah.
the
If
name.
I
Yeah, this was just a weird book. I thought that there were parts of it that were really interesting. Parts of it I just did not vibe with at all. There were a lot of parts with regards to women that I did not appreciate under any circumstance, whether
Yeah.
sexual assault and rape, and it just was passed off as normal. Which apparently it's off its time and if off its people, but still, I don't know, not really my thing.
So
Um,
I genuinely tried to read this book before the shortlist was announced. Because and I was very excited to read it because it was recommended by uh, Detox in the video that she did for us. So it was also like, Dalit literature, highly recommended. So I was very excited to read this book. However, I could not go beyond, I think, 80 pages. I just couldn't. And even those 80 pages, I really had to force myself. Like, to 10 पढ़ ले, फिर chocolate खाने को मिलेगा. Like, I had to give myself little goals because I it is unreadable, guys. This book is not meant to be read. It is meant to be selected in long lists and then bought because it's been selected in long lists and short lists and won awards, and then put on your shelf so that people can see that you have high literary aspirations. But I mean, and the thing is, it's like Smriti said, it's really well written in parts. But when you start off and suddenly there is a fish, there's like, water that everybody's looking for, and then they are lost. And then they meet two people who talk about something unrelated, and then there is a play, and then there is this man who has a mustache, which suddenly makes him scary. The thing is, if if the rules of your world are not clear and they are hard to catch on, and magical realism is a genre I love very much, then if you're writing in such a way that what you are writing, your style of writing is creating obstacles for the reader, then I don't think such work should be rewarded. And I'm being very honest here. I just feel like this is why people are reading less and less, because we reward books that make reading inaccessible. So as much as I appreciate art like Mustache being created, uh, it should be created. It has its own place. There are people who are willing to spend 20 years of their life reading one book. Good for them. But I am not one of those. And like Smriti said, suddenly, like page 3, suddenly there are breasts. Like you just what just I'm like, am I stupid? Like, what is something wrong with me? Am I like, is my brain broken? What am I reading? And
Yeah, and
during this
also
pandemic,
pages describing breasts, like one person's breasts, and that also his mother's breasts, which is
oh,
like, and he said
that's
something
clearly
about
the
how
new.
his mother's breast was so long now that he could, and they were appendages that she
That's
could just put it behind her shoulders. And I was
yes.
like, what are you saying? Why are we reading this? Why do I need to know this in my life? That is not something I want to picture under any circumstance. Just, oh,
But like I have a sneaky feeling that they'll give the prize to this book because it has so many. Again, it ticks all the boxes, right? It's a
yeah.
translation. Um, it's dense and it's. It's well written. There are parts of it that you're like, oh my god, this is a wonderful line, and you
Yeah.
feel that it's
Like
so
there was,
disjointed and annoying that just and it's so big, fucking fat. You're like, oh, I can't do this. I can't. I
The
can't.
fonts are small too. The fonts are tiny.
Yeah,
yeah,
and the font. What?
yeah.
Just let's talk about These Are Bodies Possessed by Light by Dhari. Sharon, please do it.
Yes. Okay. So these are bodies possessed by light by Dharini Bhaskar. It is it is I don't know if I should say it now,
Just
but
say
it
it.
is like, say, imagine if you were in Russia, okay, and you go to this Indian cultural night and you see, like, somebody doing like a dance fusion movement based performance, which is a lot of interesting, beautiful, conceptual things, but none of it makes sense together. And you're just like, ये क्या हो रहा है, ये मैं क्यों देख रही हूँ? गाना अच्छा लग रहा है, movement अच्छा लग रहा है, lighting भी सही है, like elements are there, but the story just doesn't appear. So now Dharini Bhaskar is somebody from the publishing industry herself. She has worked with Simon and Schuster as an editorial director. She has this beautiful quality that she employs when she's writing. So her prose is very, very poetic. It's very visceral. It's gorgeous. The way she writes is beautiful. She would be a great poet. And I have a feeling that maybe she is, because her entire book is very, very poetic. But it is not a poem, it is a book. So you're like, what's going on, lady? Explain story, what's going on? So it's about this one woman. She is examining all the female relationships in her life, and also the relationships between all the women in her life with other men, like her grandmother and her grandmother's relationships, and her mother's relationships. And she's trying to compare these two and try to understand कि मैं ऐसी हूँ क्योंकि मेरी मम्मी ऐसी है, मेरी नानी ऐसी है. So it's that, which I think all of us do, right? Like, we want to blame somebody for mistakes we make. It's all right? And that's also okay, right? All of that is fine. But what is the story? I didn't understand it. And she's based also, the title of the book is so she's Dharini. So this is how layered this whole thing is, okay, guys, just so that you get to know what is the problem. The problem is this: Dharini Bhaskar is a big fan of 1001 Arabian Nights, based on a character called Sherazad. She's obsessed with the name Sherazad so much that she found a reference to Sherazad in a book of poems by somebody whose name I don't remember, and a line in it said, "These are bodies possessed by light." And she read that and she said, title of book, and then, well, I don't know why it is in the short list.
Okay,
Okay.
Mridula, you have anything to say here?
Well, I think these are bodies. If you look at it from a feminist perspective, I think it's a powerful book. It reminds me a lot of The Women's Courtyard by Khadija Mastoor, which tells us how women are, confined to this region, where that's where their life starts and that's where their life ends. So when we hear these stories by these three women in the family, uh, I sort of understand where it is coming from. I sort of see why it's supposed to be poignant and everything, stuff like that. But the problem with the book is it's way too artistic. I mean, the writing is brilliant. It's brilliant. But after a point of time, it's an overdose of brilliance. After a point of time, you're just exhausted because the person is busy describing so many things with the particular poetic style that you end up missing the story. And at the end of the day, I feel in any fiction, the story is very important. If we lose the sense of the story, no amount of writing, no amount of character is going to bring it back.
That's fair. I'm always a champion of books that marry form with substance. So you can't sacrifice one for the other. You have to find the right balance between style and substance. So are we
Yeah.
upset that it's been selected in the
I
short?
mean, I feel like there were better books that we read this year that could have made it to the long list itself. Um,
And
Oh,
short.
yeah.
long. Okay.
And of course, the short list.
And of
Like,
course,
I
Mm.
just feel like there are better deserving books. She had the elements of a great, powerful story, but she just fell short of the story. That's pretty much it.
Let's do A Machine is Learning by Tanuj Solanki. Mridula, can you tell us a little bit about the book?
The machine is learning by Tanuj Solanki is essentially a corporate setup. Saransh, our protagonist, works in a life insurance company, and his job is to replace human with technology. He has to collect enough data to feed it into a computer, which can make decisions just like another human. But what he does not take into consideration is that this is going to lead to the loss of jobs for about 1,000 people whose livelihood depends on this particular thing. And to make him realize this, enter his girlfriend Jyoti, who's very annoying, obnoxious, and way too opinionated for my liking.
Okay.
Uh,
Wow.
so she is the one who makes Saransh question his outlook towards life, and turn him towards a more guilty phase, where he ends up questioning whether what he's doing is really worth it when it comes to the bigger picture. So yeah, there's that. We get to see characters, two kinds of characters. Ones who are so much into the corporate culture that they don't see the difference between the right and the wrong. They know that this is a job that's bringing them money. They just have to do it nicely and feed their family and maintain that lifestyle. Then there are people like the Jyoti who always reads between the lines and sees things from a different perspective. So the machine is learning, according to me, is a good book. The setup is very different. It was well done. It's a very short book, but I was a little irked by the characters. I feel the story went somewhere. There were these powerful points that were made, but somehow the characters did not work at all for me. Especially Jyoti. I think she's opinionated, but then she forces her opinion so much, and her language is like so rough, I would say, and gritty, that it's difficult to really follow her chain of thoughts without hating her.
Wow. Strong words. It sounds like an Imtiaz Wali movie, guys.
Yeah, you know what? I was just gonna say, this is like one of those things that has been written that could in the future someday be adapted. In fact, not even the future, like it could be adapted now. It could make for a great lockdown movie. And Tanuj Solanki has written books before. Like, in fact, he wrote this book called Diwali in Muzaffarnagar, I think, which won the Sahitya Academy Yuva Puraskar when he wrote it.
Yes.
So he has the makings of being like as popular because he writes more popular fiction type of stuff like Chetan Bhagat would, but with a bit more um it's more socially appropriate and it's culturally more sound. I think that is the difference. And but yeah, I think again, like it's part of those realistic fiction series that this is our current right now. Like if you go possibly work in a corporate house, in a corporate company, you will relate to every element of this novel. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to In Search of Heal by Manjul Bajaj.
Oh yeah, okay, represent. I was like, Punjab, represent, yo, this yours, this is mine. This is,
Can we take a
my
moment?
one grouse. Huh?
Can we take a moment to talk about how there is Kerala, there is Punjab, there is
Yeah,
Delhi,
Assam,
city in Jinn, which is Bombay or Delhi. There is Assam. There is what else is there? It's such
future Delhi.
yeah.
There is Kolkata.
Yeah.
There's Kolkata. So much of India is covered in this long list. I love it.
Yes,
Love.
there's a lot of diversity for sure. Again, I think it's a healthy long list and short list in that sense. There are debut female authors. There's translation. There is representation from different cultures. There is different types of fiction, genre fiction also. So I think from that perspective, they have tried to pick out books that uh, a lot of young people today will find readable, enjoyable. It's unlike a literary prize selection. Like very few unreadable books,
Yeah.
Right.
more readable stuff.
Okay, let's do here.
So yeah, so when I saw when I read the title, and I'm like, my God, finally my Punjab is being represented. My one grouse, guys, in just new contemporary Indian fiction is that there is very little coming from Punjab, and so I think a lot of our folk culture is getting lost because there's nobody championing it. So for that reason, I really want to give Manjul Bajaj like a huge thumbs up, because she took a story which is as close to a Punjabi's heart as possibly Amrita Shergill would be, or Shiv Kumar Batalvi would be. And she's taken the story, the folk story of Heer Ranja, and given it a new color. She's not updated it, but she has written it again for, like, retold the story for younger audiences who may not understand or know the story of Heer Ranja. And the main difference between Heer Ranja and other love stories of its type, which would be Romeo and Juliet or whatever, is that it is the woman who is the powerful of the two entities, and the man who comes to chase her, but the man comes from a lower, poorer household, and is the poorer person in this case, is also more weaker in this case, more artistic, more feminine in this case, and the girl is the stronger one. She's raised to be self-minded, and she's like a warrior herself. She horse rides, and she's from a richer household. So I think that shift of balance and power is very interesting, and it's based in western Pakistan, so the region around the Chenab. But it's just like there is a lot of folklore in it. There is also a lot of bhakti and Sufi movement, which pretty much had taken over Punjab during Akbar's reign, during the Mughal invasions. And I think because it has such a strong spiritual connection, there's a strong cultural connection, there's a strong folk connection, and it's a love story, which in modern day India is much more acceptable than it would have been possibly 10 years ago, because we did go through a period of regression and we took up progression again. So we went through bad time and then they picked it up again, right? So from that perspective, it's a good story to tell again. So yeah, I'm glad I read it.
Okay.
I'm glad that it's in the long list, because I got to read it and I was like, Manjul Bajaj hai koi.
Yeah, I never heard of her before the long list. I was
Yeah,
like, kaun hai ye? Padna padega.
correct. No, and I
I
really
think
like some of her interviews that she's done as well. I really like her thought process. For me, as a person, I had always heard of Heer Ranja, but I never knew the story. So for me, that introduction was really good as well. And I actually liked the feminism aspect of it, because I've always thought that this was a book I'm saying. It was a story set back then. And for that time wala book, what am I saying, for that time wala story to have these aspects to it was really interesting, and I definitely appreciated it, and I like the power that Heer kind of uh, had. But I also really liked the different perspectives and stuff. One issue that I did have was the insta lust thing, where basically Heer meets Ranja and they both go like, wow, I looked at you and I'm in love with you now and you are my forever. soulmate, and I was like,
Simpler time. No, Smriti,
ah,
it was a simpler time. That time
correct.
they were like, okay, because see, at that time also, right, like young girls were betrothed to be married. So they didn't know that they could have any agency. So the fact that she was like, oh my God, this guy's hot and he likes me and maybe I want this is like, wow, okay, let me do it.
Plus
Yeah,
her moment of rebellion, that was her moment of
Yeah.
rebellion.
That was her moment of
That was her
rebellion.
way out from that marriage, from the marriage that she was supposed to go into. She just took the
yeah.
chance. She was like, "Gana gata hai, chalo."
I loved it.
It's a drama. It's a great drama.
Yeah. But
Amazing.
also, like,
That
I
that
didn't expect all of the sex scenes to be in it. Like, I really didn't think
Yeah,
there would be
yeah.
sexy scenes in
And
a
plus, they
literary
were
like.
quite. They were explored too much. I feel. I mean, I understand that there were sexes, but I just feel like she just went into it, which sort of pulled me out of the rest of the story, and I had to realign myself.
Okay, so that was a very interesting conversation in search of Heer. And now we come to A Ballad of Remittance Fever by Ashok Mukhopadhyay, a book that only I have read. Wow. Sharon has written in our document that I'm supposed to discuss this with myself, so I'm going to discuss it with myself. So, Anuya, what did you think of the book? You know, Anuya, I was really surprised by it. Oh, why is that? Because I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. This was another book that really surprised me. Yeah. Yeah, she's written that. Okay, we'll show you. We'll put it in the screenshot.
Yes.
Yeah. Undertow really surprised me, and this book really surprised me. And this book is about three generations of doctors. Um, the first one is Dwarikanath Ghoshal, who practiced in the pre-independence era in Calcutta, and then there is Dr. Kritindranath. Wow, whose pet name I think is Bhoba.
So
The
cute.
Bengali people, they are just so funny. They'll have these like long ass fucking names, and their pet name is like
Yaknam.
Chintu or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Dwarikanath, yes, Dwarikanath, Kritindranath, and Dvij.
Kritinder.
Yeah. So these are the three doctors, and they work during different eras and in Calcutta, and it sort of brings the time to life. It brings the city to life. One of them travels all over the country, so you get to visit different parts of the country like Kuch Bihar and Katak, I believe. So the reason why I say this book surprised me is because it was really gripping. Like it's a tale simply told, and it feels a lot like all of the great historical fiction that I have read, contemporary historical fiction that I have read in recent times, like Pachinko
Wow.
and stuff. It sort of gives you an insight into a life that you have never thought about, or
Imagined.
yeah, imagined. Like you've never stopped to consider, I wonder how doctors lived in the late 1800s, or in the 1960s. And what he does is he talks about the medical practices of those times in great detail, and I thought that he must have been a doctor, you know but he's not. He's a journalist and a communications major, and like he does very boring stuff to be very honest in life. But the amount of research that it must have taken for him to bring this book to life, wow, like I think about it and like hats off to him. And nobody's talking about this book, which makes me feel really bad. It is incredibly weird in places. There is this instance of necrophilia that's just like, अरे हाँ वो तभी corpse को fuck कर रहा था, लेकिन I saw potential in him, so I trained him, and I was like, what? Just-
Huh?
yeah. And the greatest love story in the book is between cousins,
Oh
first
no.
cousin. So it's weird, but I mean, that's what literature is. Garcia Marquez also had incest in his book. And I mean, let's face it, literary authors love incest. If we can read My Dark Vanessa and Lolita and celebrate all of that, then you know what? Let's just like, we should maybe just give everybody a pass when it comes to this stuff. But apart from all that really strange stuff, this is a great book. It only gets boring when he goes too much into the medicine. But then you're like, yeah, because suddenly you're like, and then the liver is cut apart, and this comes out that I'm like, give me something.
It's like
No, but then he
Robin
does
Cook,
show
but
up.
there's no thriller.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's medical historical fiction. That's the
Huh.
genre. And it's really well translated. It has all the quirks of a translated book, and the end is beautiful, guys. Like
Huh.
I really did not expect to love this book, but I loved it. I loved this book.
Is
And
there?
I'm sorry that it wasn't in the shortlist. Yeah.
Huh. So do you think
Yes,
that?
Sharon.
Can you guess? Sorry.
No, yes, Smriti. Bolna.
Can you guess why it probably wasn't in the shortlist? Like, do you want to?
No, no, I can't. It's really nicely translated. I don't know. I just maybe because it slows down in the middle, but that's never a problem because mustache is there.
Oh my
So
god.
so I mean, it doesn't really have, say, like the fantastic turn of phrase that that we expect from great literary fiction, I guess.
Hmm.
It's not like poetic and lyrical and but I think it deserves to be in a shortlist, not to win, of course. I feel like Jinn is still the champion that we all love because we genuinely feel about its characters. Yes, Sharon.
Is it because the story is not ended? Did it end at a pandemic?
No, see,
I,
that's the other thing. I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, Ballad of Remittent Fever should be." Of course, he talks about a lot of pandemic. Like I said, the Spanish flu is in it. The cholera is in it. Malaria is. He talks a lot about all these, pandemics that have plagued us from time to time, our humanity. But the actual Ballad of Remittent Fever, when you find out what the title is all about, you'll know, that it has nothing to do with actual fever.
Hmm.
Yes, I feel I'm answering the
Is the
question.
book hopeful?
No, but it's very, yes, it is hopeful. It
That's
is
why.
hopeful. It has, that's why. Yeah, it has a
see,
lovely
this is
ending.
like a deposition, and Anuya is the lawyer of the author.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
this book
Yes,
hopeful?
yes. But
Why do you think it is in the long list?
but I
Was
think
there a pandemic?
you guys should read it. It's worth
I'll read it definitely.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
the
definitely.
little
only one I haven't read, so I will.
Yeah, you should read it. It's a little slow in the beginning, so you're like, okay, what's happening? And then necrophilia, and you're like, 1 second, what is happening? But as I read it, I fell more and more in love with it. And credit goes to Arnav Sinha, so he's translated it really well. That brings us to the end. Wow. Wow, well done, guys. I'm so proud of us for reading all of these books and having so many opinions that we
Hmm.
share.
So, guys, I think full credit also goes to the jury of the JCB Prize and its literary director this year, Meeta Kapoor. They've actually chosen what they think would be modern contemporary literary fiction. And if this is so, I think what the prize also does is puts these books on a global pedestal, and more people across the world have access to this book. I know that it has done wonders for books like Latitudes of Longing, which I discovered 2 years ago, and of course, The Far Field, which was the winner last year. Books like these have really gone across the world, and if they represent what is the best of Indian literary fiction, then great job. So I'm
Mm.
really looking forward to who they select as the winner this year. That will be announced on the 7th of November. Okay, so guys, you guys have the opportunity to win the full selection of the 10 books that are in the JCB longlist this year. All you have to do is hit us up in the comment section and predict the winner. We will announce the winner of this giveaway a day after the winner of the JCB prize is announced. So you can tell us who you think is the winner of this prize, and if you are the lucky person who gets it right, we might just give you the long list
Yeah.
titles.
Yay! And guys, as soon as the winner is announced, you should come to Books on Toast Instagram Live because we are going to have the chance to interview this person exclusively first before anybody else, as soon as they find out that they're the winner. So, how cool will that be? I hope they're all like, I don't know what to say. I'm so overwhelmed. I hope there's some crying because that's how people get TRPs, as we all know, right? Channels get TRPs, crying or anger. So I hope there is both. If you like this video, please share this video with your friends. Give them the chance to discover these amazing 10 books. We would love to hear if you have opposing views. Tell us why you liked a book that we hated or hated a book that we liked. That is what keeps things interesting for us, as you know. And please subscribe to the Books on Toast channel and share this video as far and wide as possible. Please follow Mridula. Please follow Smriti. Please follow the JCB 10. They are also very cool and they're all doing a much better job than we are. So just follow them.
We will put all the books that we discussed in the description box below, along with links where you can buy these books. We will also put the links of Mridula and Smriti and all the JCB 10, their handles in the description box below as well. So please go there and click and find and discover. It is your research box. Okay.
Yay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
No, no, no.